Sammy looked around her stylish, modern office filled with mood boards, color palettes, and elegant event setups with a smile. At 32, she was living her life's dream of being a successful event planner. The clients included government official, high-end organizations, and celebrities. She was popular for her professionalism and unique taste, which was why the board of her company had appointed her the head of the event planning department. Being the youngest manager in an international organization was no mean feat, so she was right to feel fulfilled and grateful for achieving everything she had ever wished for, except for one thing: love. She nearly scoffed as the thought crossed her mind because she had given up on love a long time ago, especially after her last failed relationship with Timothy, her childhood friend. Marriage and having kids was definitely not part of her destiny, so she had embraced her work and creating unforgettable experiences for her clients. It was more than enough, and she was happy with her life. That was before she met him. One Monday morning, a new client had reached out to their organization requesting specifically for Sammy. It was her daughter's wedding, and she needed Sammy to create her magic as the event planner. Her schedule was free, so Sammy accepted the offer. Later that evening, she went over to see the bride and groom at the client's family house. They were set up outside at the garden, and she was standing away from the small crowd answering a call when the host walked in with a charming white man who had a camera slung casually over one shoulder. Sammy was intrigued by the tall, olive-toned, well-groomed young man who had a quiet smile and a low, deep, and calm voice. He moved with ease, and his eyes, which were the color of the night sky, had an intense gaze which sparkled whenever he talked about his work. His name was Alexander, and he was the photographer hired to capture the essence of the wedding. Sammy had never dated a white man before. In fact, it had never crossed her mind during her various trips to Europe and the US, but somehow she found herself distracted by the photographer. Her clients loved the plan she presented but wanted her to work with Alexander for the event. Pushing away the crazy and embarrassing thoughts running through her mind, she smiled up at him and scheduled series of meetings with him. The first two meetings were simple and awkward, particularly because she was used to working with her own staff. By the third meeting, Alexander had settled in and was running at full speed. It was as if he could read her thoughts and body language. Reviewing event details, walking through venues, laughing over coffee felt so natural with him, and each moment was charged with emotions. Glances held too long, hands brushing while reaching for a pen, whispered conversations, unspoken attraction, and Sammy being lost in thoughts while watching Alexander talk. Slowly but surely, she knew that the more rational and professional part of her brain was losing the battle to that part of her she had locked away, her emotional part. She didn't need to read a tarot card to figure out that she was drawn to Alexander in ways she had never guessed was possible. Few days to the wedding, she heard the usual transfer gossips from a colleague, but brushed it off as that gossip. She was writing a report when she got the email. She was being transferred to their Swedish branch to join a team for an international event. It was urgent, and she had just one night to say goodbye to her family. Sammy was hit by a ton of emotions. She had always dreamed of handling international events. But what of Alexander? Although he had not officially asked her to become his girlfriend, but she had seen it in his eyes the last time they had gone to a resort for photo shoots, and she would bet her luxury purse that he was going to ask, probably after their wedding gig. She could not help wondering how he would take the news. Later that evening, when they met at their usual venue, she calmly explained the new development while fighting not to let herself break down in front of him. Surprisingly, Alexander took the news calmly, congratulated her on her promotion, and promised to work with her official replacement. Their meeting that day was very brief. She could sense he was in a haste to get away from her, while making it look like he had other engagements he needed to catch up with. As Sammy watched him walk away, Her heart broke as it dawned on her that whatever emotions she had felt was an infatuation on her side. That night, she found herself crying again over a man and a love she was never promised. The next day, Sammy was surprised when she met Alexander at the airport. He had come to say goodbye. She hugged her mom tenderly while giving him a professional nod with a faint smile. His face was unreadable as she walked away, without a backward glance, while resolving never to lose focus again. Sweden was everything her colleagues and Google had described. Sammy buried herself in her work and tried to embrace the new culture. One Saturday in July, few months after her arrival, she decided to spend her day off touring the city and checking out the events she had seen online. The summer sun was warm on her skin as she navigated the city, walking slowly and soaking in the beautiful view. Her steps took her towards the city center, where she stumbled upon a local art exhibition which she could not recall seeing online. A glance at the banner with the striking photograph of a familiar landscape stopped her on her tracks. Her eyes moved further up, and suddenly, cold ripples ran down her bare back as she stared at the name Sammy, which was boldly written on the banner. Sammy. Which Swedish photographer would use the name Sammy as the theme for an event? Was Sammy even a Swedish name? She asked herself, confused as she stood staring at the banner. Just then, her eyes caught a quote written below the photograph, and she moved closer to read the words. "The distance between us is a canvas, waiting to be filled with the colors of our love." Sammy's heart skipped a beat as she instinctively made her way into the exhibition hall.